Moose Country, welcome to another episode of Let Us Be Heard.
What's up, everybody? Colin back here for another episode of Let Us Be Heard. Tonight is a real special treat for the show, as it's the first time that we have a former Moosehead coach on to talk about their time with the Herd. This gentleman has been in coaching most of his life. He's made a real career out of it, coaching with multiple different teams and leagues, and he's still involved in the sport to this day. Please help me welcome Jon Greenwood. Jon Greenwood, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Colin. Thanks for having me, man.
No, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, every time one of you guys agree to do the show, it fills me with such happiness, man. Taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate it. I'm going to start this off with a question from Ryan Falkenham.
Okay, great.
He wants to know about your first year as a rookie coach with the Moose.
Yeah.
Just how did it feel?
So Ryan was there, man. I started in 2014-15 is when I got hired in Halifax. So I came in. It was sort of, I guess things were starting to turn there. They just had a couple of, tremendous years, obviously winning in 13, getting to the third round in 14, and then I came in the next year. Still had a lot of high-end talent on the team. My first year I came in, we had Nikolai Ehlers, Timo Meyer, Phil Goodori, Fucali was there at the start of the year until Christmas. So, I mean, we had some big names. Team probably wasn't as deep as it was in the other years, so we were really top heavy that year. And that first year, looking back, it's been a while now. I'm talking almost 10 years, but it was a whirlwind for sure. There's a lot to get used to. I was really fortunate. Jim Midgley was the other assistant coach at the time and helped me really get my foot in the door there and get hired. And he was good to have for me that first year because like any new job, anything new you're doing, it's like, okay, we're going on the road. What do we wear today? What do we do? What are you packing? Like I was that annoying, new guy that wanted to do everything the right way and make sure that everything was accounted for. And it was nice to have Jim as a buddy that, I could ask the embarrassing questions to sometime to make sure that you had everything you needed. But that year was, I had actually coached Ryan in Halifax and midget when he was 15, and then to come there that year when he was, I think that was his 18 or 19-year-old year at that point. So, I mean, I knew some of the players on the team just being a local guy and coaching different levels of U18 and midget hockey at the time. So, but looking back, that year was a whirlwind. There was a lot to learn. It was certainly overwhelming at times. Not just the hockey side of things, it's everything else, like the hockey is the hockey, you're moving up a level of hockey. It's more intense. You're dealing with better players than so all of that could be overwhelming, but it was just the everything, the day-to-day, the travel, the stress and strain that puts on your family. I had a young family at the time. So, I mean, the hockey itself was probably the least overwhelming of it all, to be honest with you. It was just, it was everything else that sort of was a whirlwind.
Now, you started your career with the Wolfpack, correct?
Yeah, so I was an assistant for 2 years with the Halifax. It was the Halifax Titans then, now the Halifax McDonald's, with Kirk Tomlinson was the head coach. And that's where I had Ryan when he was there before he got drafted by the Mooseheads. And then from there, I moved on to be head coach of the Wolfpack for 2 years in Cole Harbour. Before getting hired by the Mooseheads. So at the time I was teaching at a private athletic academy called Maritime Varsity Academy in Dartmouth. I was coaching the Wolfpack as well. And then once that summer hit after my second year, I got hired by the Mooseheads, and then hockey became full-time for me at that point.
So I got off script, man. The academy that you taught at, is that the one in Woodside in the industrial park?
Yeah, so since it's changed names, it's now East Coast Varsity, it's called. At the time, it was Maritime. We started as Maritime Hockey Academy. We added other sports. It became Maritime Varsity Academy. But we had Nathan McKinnon there as a grade 7 and 8 student before he left for Shattuck St. Mary's. So he was there. So I used to teach him in the classroom, have him on the ice 4 days a week in the afternoon. And we had a lot of local guys that have gone on to be pros. We had Matthew Highmore there with us, Luke Henman. Ozzie King was a student there 1 year. I mean, so we had a lot of Jared McKay came. We had a lot of guys. So over the years, had a lot of young players. A lot of young players from the time they were sort of 10 to 14, 10 to 15. And so I was sort of doing that as my day job, coaching the U18 team in the evenings as a part-time gig. And then, I had to leave both those to get hired by the Mooseheads to do hockey full-time.
Mooseheads would be a full-time job. So out of the Wolfpack, is there any notable players that you can mention? Because there was a lot of talent that came out of the Wolfpack.
Yeah, so my 2 years were quick there. I took over a team there. There was it was a coaching change. A lot of players left. So when I took over the team there, we had one player on the roster. Everyone else had sort of left, disbanded, got another team. So our first year, we took our lumps. So we really tried to pick a young team of keen kids, and we worked with them. I had two great assistant coaches there, Matt Beaver and Danny McKinnon, who actually works now down at the Pittsburgh Penguins Elite program down in Pittsburgh. So I had a great staff. My brother helped with the video that year. We put a lot into it. And, by year two, we had a great season. We did well. I thought our kids all progressed, and we did well. From that group, Gregor McLeod is playing pro in the DEL right now, so we're pretty proud of that. We had a team of, and I don't mind saying this without insulting the kids, we didn't have the first pick of the kids. We kind of took who was coming and looking for a place to play, and we were able to find some good players. We had a few other players that went on to play, college hockey. Connor Welsh is playing pro hockey in the East Coast League still. He played at Dal. Nick Bruce played NCAA hockey. We had some really good players come through our program there in 2 years. But it was fun, man. It was a really fun level. And when I was coaching at that level, I wasn't thinking hockey was going to be a career. I was teaching, I was coaching. I thought I had it made at that point, just doing that. That was sort of what I envisioned doing. And then when the Mooseheads thing came about that summer, life changed quickly, and I've been doing sort of hockey full time ever since. But it wasn't really a goal or a vision. It's just sort of something that worked out that way. And it's like I said, it's been full time hockey since.
Some of the best plans are on plan. Some of the best. Yeah, I forget how the saying goes. What was your favorite position to coach?
Yeah, I did both the Mooseheads. When I started with the Mooseheads, I was with Dom Ducharme and Jim Midgley, and Jim was running the defense, and I was sort of looking after the forwards and the penalty kill with Dom's help, of course. And then, I went through a lot of coaches there. I was there for 7 years and then 5 head coaches. So I went through the ringer there, but I had a lot of great experiences and learned a lot from all those guys. But I guess it would have been my fourth year there. I changed sides of the bench. I went back to the defense when Jim took over as head coach, and I went back and did the defense for my last 3 years there. So what I like better, I don't know. I think I really like both. Defense has sort of become my niche, I guess, as a coach in a way, just because I have spent more time doing that. I didn't grow up as a defenseman playing hockey. I was a forward, and I just sort of learned, as a coach, it's sort of what you do, what you're asked to do, and you kind of. And then from there, you go to different coaching conferences, you reach out to contact you try to learn as much as you can. You have to be a sponge that way as a coach to make sure you're giving the players all the information that you want to give them and help their development. So I was that way. I didn't know everything, and I still don't, but I did everything I could to try to learn and help develop them. So hockey's become a lot like football in a sense that the higher levels of hockey now, it's become a little bit positional specific with the coaches. You'll see that in major, junior, and pro hockey now. There's one assistant coach that looks after the penalty kill, and one assistant coach that looks after the power play. And it's almost like it's become coordinators in football, like, the offensive, defensive coordinators and the special teams coach. Hockey's becoming that way because those are huge, important parts of the job. And it's a good way to divvy up the tasks among the coaching staff. The head coach has to oversee everything. He's like a CEO, though. He's got a lot to worry about and a lot of things, so he has to, trust his staff to have big voices and to have big responsibilities on the team. And I guess defense and penalty kill has sort of become my niche over the past 7-8 years for sure.
Nice, man, nice. Our PK is actually doing pretty good this year. It's more of our power play that's struggling a bit this year. I always thought that you were an offensive coach. I didn't know you dabbled in defense.
Yeah, no, I did, man. With the Mooseheads, it was always the penalty kill, and I know Brad McKenzie's doing it now with them, and sort of took over my role when I left. He's running the defense and the penalty kill, and a really sharp guy. They're lucky to have him, good coach, and it's a lot of nuances, man. You're always trying to step ahead of the power plays. Power plays can be really creative. Coaches can be really creative, and they have a lot of talent to work with. So, as when you run the penalty kill, it's a lot of work to try to stay a step ahead of the power play. Yeah,
our defensive coach is probably my favorite coach on that bench, man. I think he works extremely hard for what he's done for our team. You got any crazy bench stories?
There's lots. I coached quite a few games, but the one that always sticks out when people ask me that is that first year that Ryan mentioned. We ended up, we made some trades at Christmas. You can say we were sort of, we weren't tanking, but we traded some good players that year. We kept some good ones too, though. But we ended up playing Shawinigan in the playoffs. And that was the year, if you remember, we had the home games at the Forum. It was a really crazy first round series.
What do they call it? Teamo time at the Forum? Is that what it was called?
That's the one, yeah. And then Nick Ehlers, the overtime Game 7 winner on the road, which was pretty remarkable. But, so that was sort of my first year. But in Shawinigan, and I bet this was a tradition in their history, I didn't know, but the fans sitting right behind the visiting bench would have like metal spoons. When I say spoons, it was more like ladles. They were big, and we're just like tap, tap, tap the entire game, tap, tap, tap on the glass. And when you're standing there, the glass is, it's about 3 inches from the back of your head. So, and you just have somebody tapping this metal spoon or ladle literally behind your ears for 2.5 hours. I mean, I'm not kidding. It wasn't like at a TV timeout or wasn't at certain times. It was just the constant noise. And apparently that's a bit of a tradition there. Even in their old rink, they used to do stuff like that. And coaches have lost their mind about it and stuff. But, we sort of just embraced it a little bit and tried. I found the more you ignored it, if you gave into it and looked back and let them know it was bothering them, they'd do it more. So we just tried to ignore it, pretend like it didn't bother us at all. Obviously it did, but it would bother anybody. I'd like to say, we were so dialed in and focused that it wasn't distracting, but it's distracting. Of course, you're trying to talk to the guys in front of you and you got this thing going in your ear. And, hey, that was sort of, there's been lots of other crazy atmospheres I coached in. Rwanda in the playoffs and in the finals in 2019. It's really, really loud with their air horns and I don't know, tractor trailer horns, whatever those things were. They were it was so loud there. There's been some pretty cool, even the old Moncton Coliseum, playing there in the playoffs when it was full and it was an old, it was a good size rink, but it felt kind of low and dark and small. And I don't know if I'd say it was intimidating, but it was certainly loud. It was a cool environment. So, that Shawinigan story was probably the craziest, but, I was able to coach some pretty cool atmospheres and environments in my time.
That speaks volumes to their fans, though. Anything to try to give their players an edge. I love that. I absolutely love that, man. What's your favorite? I was going to ask you, what's your favorite Moosehead you ever coached, but what's your favorite player you've ever coached?
Yeah, that's always a hard one because when people say who's the best player you coach, who's the your favorite.
No, not necessarily best or the best. Your favorite that you coached, the one that took your direction, the one that you remember to this day as I really enjoyed coaching that guy.
Yeah, I think that when I look back at that 2019 team we had that hosted the Memorial Cup, I became pretty close with the defense group that we had that year, and there's a lot of guys in that group that I still keep in touch with. We had a really, a tight unit back there. I thought we really, really did well that year. Our PK was among the top of the league. Our goals against was pretty low. I thought we had a lot of good forwards, scored a lot of goals too. But I thought our defense as a group, we just kind of had the right guys, the right number of lefts and right shots. It balanced well. I thought we had good partners that balanced each other well and played well together. So, that group, I certainly grew close to that group, would come over to my house. I'd have them at my house for dinner and to play mini six with my kids. I'd have a defense night like that to come over to the house and hang out with my kids. And
no hockey talk.
That was the thing. Yeah, you've heard that story, I guess. But yeah, that was something I stole from Rick Bonus that I think was important, and I really do think the players appreciate. So that was it. I wanted to come and hang out and us to be people and friends together, but it wasn't about coaching or hockey. It's just to kind of hang out. And I think that's important to gain everyone's trust and respect and to get along as a unit, as a group. I think those things are important. A lot of teams do it with team building events now, letting their teams go bowling, let their teams. You want your players to hang out and do stuff with the staff. I think is tremendous to do those types of things where it's not a structured, hey, we got to watch video, we got to talk about these drills, we got to talk about this. No, it's just a time to hang out and relax and be buddies and stuff. And I think that's really important. So yeah, that group, from that group, I still keep in touch with, Justin Barron, Patty Kite. I still coach Walter Flower at St. Mary's now, who's part of that group. So that was pretty cool. It was a, different group. We had kids from all over the place. Jake Reisig was American, and Jacques Cheney was pretty French when he came to us, didn't speak a lot of English. We had local guys like Walter and Jared, and then we had Patty. So it was kind of a group of guys from everywhere. We had locals, we had Americans, we had French guy, but they got along great, man, and I thought the partners worked well together. And I'll certainly remember. If you asked me what was my favorite player, I'd have to look at that decor and say that group was pretty special. It was cool to coach that group, and it's hard for me to pick one guy.
I love that, man. And you know what? A lot of things people don't remember when they're watching these kids. They just see them as hockey players, but they're some of them are kids, and giving them that sense of consistency and sense of family in your home is probably meant the world to them.
Yeah, I try to remind people that, and I've said it in other interviews I've done before, where it's like, the hockey is the hockey, but these guys are moving away from home for the first time. You're dealing with people that are, new drivers because of their age, moving away from home for the first time, living with billets, not eating their parents' home cooking, maybe going a long time without seeing their parents, weeks or months, depending on where they're from. So, it's an overwhelming time in their life. And I think that it's really important as coaches, we don't just coach them hockey, but we're part of their life, and we have to build relationships with them, make them as comfortable and to enjoy their experience. Because coaching junior hockey, I do the same thing now. We're coaching university hockey. We want these players to look back at those years, say those are the greatest years of my life. It was awesome. And not just the hockey memories. All the other parts are really important. So, I think all the coaches I worked with, the staff that I was with in all my time there, and the management staff, the office staff, the Mooseheads, they always did a great job of that. I think making sure it was a great experience for the players. And I'm proud of the years I had there with that.
That's something I've heard often, actually, that the Mooseheads go out of their way to make sure their players are healthy and happy, and I love that, man, because I'm a father just like you know what I mean, like, and if my kid was going away, I would want somebody to look out for him, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What's a Moose memory that lives in your head rent free?
So I guess that term means it has to be negative, right? Like it's something that still bothers me, or what?
No, it means it's just something that when you think of the Mooseheads, you're happy to have it in your head.
Oh, okay, that's different. I mean, that'll always just go back to the crowds that we had, man. I mean, during the playoff run and the Memorial Cup that I was fortunate to be a part of there in 2019, no, we didn't win. And I guess the moment that lives rent-free in my head is that we didn't win, that we had a chance on home ice, and we had a lead in the final, and the building was shaking, and Nate dropped the puck that night. I don't have many regrets in my life hockey-wise, and that's not a regret. It's still a disappointment. It still stings, because we were that close. And Rwanda had a great team, and I don't know. We could have a best of 7 against them 10 times. I don't know if we ever beat them 4 times, but we just need to beat them that one day. It was that one Sunday we were in the final, and we beat them twice in a playoff series just weeks prior. So, when it came down to one game, we had the home game, we had a lead in the game. That's something that still you look back on it with some disappointment. No regrets, but certainly disappointment. But, I mean, when you talk about my time with the Mooseheads, the things that I'm most proud of or most excited about that I'm really glad I had to experience was those crowds. I mean, those crowds were unbelievable. I thought the event that the team put on was – I haven't been to every Memorial Cup, but it'd be hard to tell me there was a better one put on than that. I thought everything they did from outside the arena to inside the arena was really special. Having alumni come out to drop the puck and get the crowd and the players juiced up every night was awesome. The way the tournament's set up, just because of how our city is, with all the hotels and everything downtown, for the teams, for media, for scouts, it was really cool, man. It was 10 days that went by really fast, for sure. And there was a lot of stress and pressure and everything going on at the time. But I'm really proud of the job that the organization and the city did. That's something I'll always look back at fondly. Regardless of the result, it was an amazing 10 days.
So I wasn't going to ask this because we have a lot of questions to get through. But because you mentioned it, a fan wanted me to ask you. We were beat by Rwanda for the Memorial Cup. Or for President's Cup. Then again for the Memorial Cups. His question is, do you think there was a piece that we were missing that year that we could have added that would have maybe guaranteed that victory?
Well, I wouldn't say there's no piece that's going to guarantee you, but you look at a couple of the players that they added, and we added some great players that year too. So, I mean, I was great. I was grateful for all the players that we added that year. Even go back to the start of the season, we picked up, Asselin and Moran. Those were huge pieces for us. Not just their points and the goals. Those two brought a swagger. They were championship players from Bathurst. They were the leaders on our team for sure, emotionally, and they were great injections into our locker room that year. So those were huge pieces. Yeah, when you look back at who Rwanda added that year, sure. Would I have liked to have Noah Dobson? Yes, he was a pretty good player, and he was good. I mean, would I have been disappointed if we got Noah Dobson? No, but I can't tell you I was really disappointed that we didn't. Like I said, I love that decor that we had. I love that team. When I look back at the player that year, that if you're asking me what player do I think could have made a huge difference, I mean, I look back, Joel Teasdale was a pretty good player, and it was a beast to play against. And I just know as an opposing coach, he was a hard guy to play against. I don't want to say our players were intimidated by him, because it wasn't that, but he was a presence for sure, a presence on the ice physically, and had a good blend of skill and physicality. Of course, we would have loved to have a player like that. I would have a player like that. If you take him off their team, put him on our team, do we win? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, but I mean, who knows? I mean, it's those are all hypotheticals. We could all sit back and say forever. But sure, there was good players around the league that if you had a wish list as a coach, why don't we get this guy? Why don't we get this guy? I mean, that's not our job. Our job was to coach who we had in front of us, and we were really happy with the team we had in front of us. So, yeah, there were some good players that year that other teams went and traded. Drummondville traded for some really good players that year, and we ended up beating them in the third round. Some of those players, they would look good in their jersey too. But it is what it is. Every team was trying their best to load up and go forward and get the players that they thought they needed. But that was it was a tough year for that. There's multiple teams that really wanted to win, and those were three of them, probably us and Rand and Drummondville. And we all got different pieces, and they had a great team. Rand were deserving champions that year. They had a hell of a team.
I think any year your team gets that close, it's kind of in a fan's nature to wonder. Like we wondered the same thing last year when we came that close against Quebec. If one more piece could have made the difference, right?
And it's easy to look at that too on the ice and say, look at that player. He had this many goals. He had this many. We don't know the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, like as fans, we look at that too and say, well, this guy would have been great. Maybe he's not a good guy. Maybe he wouldn't have been good in the locker room. We don't know.
Could have been cancer to the team.
Yeah, I'm not saying that about any of the players I mentioned because I don't know them, but I'm just saying that from a fan's perspective, because I'm a hockey fan, I watch the NHL, and same thing. We talk about it all the time. Oh, why doesn't this team trade for this guy? Why don't they go get this guy? I mean, we don't know. We don't know those guys, and we know them as players. We know their stats, but we don't know them as people. We don't know what kind of teammates they are, what kind of people they are, and those are really important factors when you have a good team and a tight-knit team that you really have to consider. So, it's a lot more than just let's trade for this guy. He has this many goals. I mean, there's a lot of factors, and I think fans have to sometimes just take a deep breath and realize that too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And like I said, it's just something that fans will do. But, after last year, I realized that our boys just really did their best, and Quebec beat us, and that's just the way it went, right?
Yeah, no question.
Do you still attend Moose games?
Not often. My son and I went to one this year. I mean, my schedule conflicts a lot with them too, just where I'm still coaching and coaching a lot of weekend nights. That happens. But, my kids still enjoy going to games. It's different. For 7 years, I was there on the bench, and now to go and sit in the stands and just relax, enjoy it. It's certainly a different perspective that feels funny a little bit still. But, no, I still enjoy it. Like I said, I'm a hockey fan deep down. So, and I have friends that are still on the team. I have friends that still work for the team. So, they still have my support. I still like to see the team do well. I grew up here. I'm from the area. I grew up a Moosehead fan. I was fortunate enough to work for the team for 7 years. I don't work there anymore. I'm still a fan of the team, and I have friends that work there. So, yeah, I enjoy going with my kids and not feeling stressed or any pressure to be there. And I don't have to wear a shirt and tie. I can just sit there with my kids and enjoy the game as a fan like everyone else, and it's fun.
Well, with that being said, tell us about SMU, bud.
Yeah, it's so in my third year there, I went. I made a change from the Mooseheads to go to St. Mary's, and the university hockey was always something that it was always in the back of my mind as my kids got older. Something else like I got hired by the Mooseheads. My kids were 3 and 3 months old, so they grew up with me, around the team. But that was a lot of family sacrifices that happened in the first 7 years of my son's life, and my daughter from 3 to 10. That's the job ahead. So as they started to get busier and older and more active in their activities. I knew this job was a job that, it's pretty demanding on your family's time and your time. So the university gig was a great transition for me. It's a lighter schedule, not just the lack of games, but just less travel as well. And even my daily schedule, we practice each morning at St. Mary's. So it's a lot different, even daily schedule. So on top of the, we're playing 30 games instead of 68. The furthest one's Fredericton, not Val-d'Or. Those are nice perks, but it's also just been a great transition. I mean, it's been great for my family life, and I'm still involved coaching high level hockey here, and I didn't have to move. So there's a lot of reasons why it was a great transition for me.
Yeah, you guys are very fortunate in the uni world because all of the QMJHL players that don't move on to the NHL or the AHL get filtered right down to you guys, or right over or up to you guys, and you guys really have a great pick.
Players leave in the Mooseheads. I mean, your goal as an organization is that when players leave your junior team, you want them either signing pro contracts or going to play university hockey. I mean, that's what you hope for every player. And I look at my time there. I think just about every player, did one of those two things, which is great. So, yeah, our dressing room at St. Mary's is full of former, Q players and OHL players, and it's great. I mean, I think it's a great high level of hockey. The guys are older, more mature, really focused on their academics and their life, and it's a lot different because of the age difference and where they're at in their life. It's a lot different than coaching junior hockey. Junior hockey, it's like I said, all those things earlier about them being away from home for the first time, new drivers, all these guys now have all lived away from home. They've done a 4 or 5 year junior experience. There's a lot of experience and maturity in their life already, so it's different that way. Makes it easier in a lot of ways, and that's that's good. So it's been great. I love it there, and I love the university game. I love the level of hockey, but I also just love the lifestyle.
So to break away from the serious for a second, man.
Sure.
What was Tyler like his first year on the bench?
Am I coach now, Tyler?
Tyler Long.
Oh, Tyler, when Tyler came. Oh, yeah. So my experience with Tyler came to our organization when I was there, and Tyler started hanging around and coming around the rink more, and started with practice days. Chris McDonald was our equipment manager at the time, and Macker used to have Tyler there all the time at practice, and it started coming once a week, and then more and more, and the guys. I think the guys fell in love and adopted Tyler as part of the team and the family, and it was really great. It was nice to see that sort of happen slowly and organically. He started coming once in a while to help out. Then the guys would start asking a little bit, hey, where's Tyler? When's he coming back? And then it became, maybe twice a week. And he was just there every day. And then he had all the clothing. And then he's part of the staff. And it was fun to sort of watch that grow. Him as part of the staff now. And now, you see him, you go down below the rink and you see his name on the door outside the equipment guy's office. He's got his own nameplate and stuff. I think that's awesome. And, I know he's a big part of the team.
It's hard not to fall in love with that kid. I go to watch parties with him. He's him and his mother are good friends of mine, and it's an absolute joy to see him on that bench every day, man. Any funny stories?
Not specifically with Tyler. I mean, with Tyler, it was just like, Tyler would always come eat every day. I remember when he first started, he'd be coming. His mom would have lunch for him. He'd show up at the Subway, and he'd have his meatball sub and chocolate milk, and he'd be devouring that thing and chat with everybody. And he didn't have a lot of filter at the time, he'd be talking about trades, and we should trade for this guy, and maybe we should trade this guy. And I'd say, Tyler, he's right there taping a stick, it was kind of funny, to hear that at the start. So
he still does that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, but yeah, I remember thinking that was pretty funny, and the guys would all take it well. They all would just laugh about it, right? Because he was just talking like a fan, unfiltered in front of the guys, and we all got a kick out of it.
God love you, Big W, Tyler. Tell us a little bit about your Canada Games coaching. You had some experience coaching Nova Scotia, did you not?
Yeah, so while I was involved, that was a crazy year. So 2019, the year that we hosted the Memorial Cup, and I'd like to remind people we played 95 games there with the Mooseheads. That wasn't preseason. That was regular season. Playoffs and Mem Cup was 95 games. And then on top of that, I coached Team Nova Scotia at the Canada Games, went to Red Deer in February. So I left the team for 10 days to go to Red Deer to coach the Nova Scotia Canada Games team. It was the 03 birth year, so I had future Mooseheads. Like Cam Wynot was on that team. Cole Foston was on that team. And then, some other really good players ended up playing in the queue as well. Riley Kidney, Jacob Malantz, and Connor Trenholm, Oscar Plandowski. Some really good players. We had a strong group in Nova Scotia, and we did quite well. I think another, disappointment in my career is we had a quarterfinal game that I thought we had a real good chance of winning there that we ended up losing, and we ended up finishing sixth or something. But that really our goal was try to get into the quarters and win that quarterfinal to get in the top four. That was always our goal going in the event. We didn't quite reach it, but a great experience. I mean, I wouldn't recommend anyone going to Red Deer in the middle of February. It wasn't the most tropical spot, but I think it was minus 35 or 40 every day that we were there, and we were riding on school buses, to and from the rink. Not that we were slumming it. We had great accommodations, but it was cold. I was told it was the coldest place on earth I've been to. It wasn't lovely, but the event itself is cool. It really is a mini Olympics. This is not just hockey, obviously. It's all the other sports. We took our team to watch a wheelchair basketball game, and we had our guys there cheering on those athletes, and went to some other events too. It was pretty cool. I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of responsibility. So I don't know if it's something I'd be anxious to do again, not because I didn't enjoy it, just because it is a big time commitment. But I am really glad I did it once. I had a great staff. Aaron King and Tom Lee were there coach with me. I had Charles Grant, who was the goalie video coach with Cape Breton at the time, was with us there as well. So surrounded by great guys. We had a great team, and it was a really fun experience. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend going to Red Deer in February, but otherwise the sporting experience was tremendous.
I gotta tell you, I absolutely love Red Deer, and I would move back in a heartbeat. I lived north of Red Deer, just 8 kilometers in a town called Black Falls for 2 years, and Red Deer had a Dartmouth feel to it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It really did, and being out there working, it really reminded me of home. And I actually worked with former Red Deer Rebels coach, not coach, captain Doucette, Scott Doucette.
Okay.
Yeah, good guy. Coach of the year, what an honor.
Oh yeah, back in my Wolfpack days, yeah, that was sort of. Like I said, we had a big turnaround there. Our first year wasn't the most successful wins and loss year. We returned most of our team, and then we had a couple other great pickups that second year, and we really, that's what happens in coaching and every sport. I find the team with the biggest turnaround is often the coach that wins that award, and we certainly did, I think, double our win total from one year to the next. So it looked great on me, but I mean, at the end of the day, we had a bunch of good players that I think all individually developed and progressed, and I had a great staff with me. So I always look at that as a coaching staff award, not a head coach award. But I mean, your staff deserves a lot of credit for that. So, yeah, no, certainly it was an honor. I was proud to be named that, and proud of our coaching staff for efforts we put in. But it was what it is. It was fun. It was a great experience there, and I didn't think it would lead to the Mooseheads, but it did. And then that summer, life changed quickly.
So, is there anything missing from your coaching career? Is there something left you'd like to achieve?
I mean, you want to win everywhere you are. Championships are, is always what that's why you say it's why you do it. But it's every year you start, you want to win championships. I mean, it'd be at St. Mary's now. I'd love to win an AUS or national championship. But no, I didn't. Like I said, I wasn't a guy that set out to say I'm going to coach in the NHL, and I had some checklist in my mind of what I wanted to do in my career. I mean, I said I was teaching and coaching, and the Mooseheads opportunity came along, and I did that, and I went through some turbulent years there. I went through, the rebuild and the upswing again. I kind of saw, every side of that, which was a neat experience. They're all good experiences in different ways. And I wish we could have brought the Memorial Cup, championship when we were hosting. That would have been an unbelievable experience. Like I said, it's not a regret, but it's a disappointment. But no, at this point in my coaching career, my career in general, it's just about trying to improve, trying to give the best experience you can to young athletes wherever you're coaching them, and trying to win a championship at whatever level you're coaching at. That's what we all aspire to do.
So I've never, and call it stupidity on my end for this question, I've never gone to a university hockey game. Is it just as simple as showing up and buying a ticket?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy tickets online, depending on what, at St. Mary's, we have the tickets online that you can purchase. If you will new tickets, there's ticketing to buy online, But yeah, I mean, it's we get a different crowd. It's funny. It's not a Mooseheads game, right? So you come to watch a university game, you have to enjoy the hockey because there's there's no mascot, there's no big screen, there's no fans of the game, there's no 6-foot sub. But if you like to have a coffee or a beer and just watch high level hockey, I think it's a great avenue. So my father, he's 74, he likes it. He can drive, he can park really close to the front doors, which you can in a Mooseheads game. You can have a coffee and watch hockey. He would just say it's less all the bells and whistles, but if you just want to drive over and watch a good hockey game, you can do that, right? So
I think I might.
Yeah, it's a great brand hockey. You'd be surprised probably how many names you would recognize. Being a QMJHL fanatic that you are, I mean, you would recognize names on every team. I'm sure of it. And,
I had an interview with Gravel. Gravel's.
We played them in the Nationals last year. We played them. We were at the Nationals in Charlottetown last year, and our matchup was against UQTR. We had Gravel and Jordan Lepage was on that team as well, who I coached at Halifax too. So it's cool to go to an event like that. Barrett Decision was at the University of Windsor when we were at that event, and different guys. So it was kind of cool to now see these guys who I coached at 16, 17, 18. Now I'm running into them at 23. They're still playing. We've both sort of moved on, and we're still running into each other. I mean, that's pretty cool. So it's cool to run into those guys and see what's up. So, but yeah, that's cool. I saw Gravel last year at the awards banquet. We chatted, and then we played against them that day. It was neat.
It's crazy how small the hockey community is, eh?
Yeah, it really is. And it's, like I said, you're all working together, and you spend so much time together. I mean, I don't know if everyone realizes that. When you coach a junior hockey team and you're around these, you spend a lot of time. You see these guys as much or more than you do your family. So, and you have these kids for really influential years of their life. Alex Gravel's a guy that came in, and I was part of a coaching staff of Alex from 16 to 20. Those are big years of his life, of course. And he's a guy that I'd love to have a chat with and a coffee with anytime I get a chance to run into him. And great to see him still playing high level hockey.
That's awesome, man. Listen, before you go, is there anything you'd like to say to the Mooseheads fans, organization, players, past, future, present? Any words of advice, anything at all? Just want to open up the forum to you.
No, I mean, like I said, I spent 7 years there, and I have no regrets. It was a great time in my life. I'm really proud to be a local guy that was able to work for the organization. Like I said, I grew up watching the team and then have a chance to work for them. Meet a lot of great people, players, coaches, staff. Have a lot of great experiences. I wouldn't have been able to visit wonderful spots like Baie-Comeau and Val-d'Or probably if I didn't coach in the Quebec Major Junior League. So I had some unique experiences that way. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think everyone should, and they don't need to hear it from me. They should be proud of the team because they work really hard behind the scenes. And I was able to see the day-to-day stuff that goes on behind the scenes, whether it be people working to make community events happen and knowing that, the stuff the billets go through to make sure that they're giving those kids a great experience. I was sort of, part of my role as assistant coach was I was sort of a first contact for the billet families. That's probably not something people would realize, but if the billets are having an issue or a billet had to go away for a weekend and they had to find a temporary billet for a guy, I was sort of a middleman there between the billet coordinator and the team to arrange those things and make sure the players are taken care of. So there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes. I always tell my friends, you'd see me standing on a suit on Friday night at the bench in front of 8,000 people. And it looks pretty cool. But the daily Monday to Friday stuff that goes on behind the scenes is probably a lot that people wouldn't realize that, it's a job. I'm not saying the most exciting things in the world, but there is a lot that goes into it. And I think people should be proud of the way the team operates and the amount of time and effort they put into it because there's a lot of people to make that big wheel churn and they do a great job of it.
Well, listen, John, I want to thank you so much once again for coming on the show and letting everybody hear how your time was with the Herd. I hope to see you at a couple games here in the future, and I'll make sure to come out to see one of the St. Mary's games.
Okay, awesome, man. Take care.
All right, that was Jon Greenwood, everybody. I hope you're all healthy, safe, and happy out there. And as always, go Moose, go.